Jerome Lester Horwitz, better known as Curly Howard, was born on October 22, 1903, in Brooklyn, New York. He grew up in a working-class Jewish family, often overshadowed by his more assertive siblings. While shy and reserved in everyday life, Curly discovered an extraordinary talent for comedy early on. His natural sense of timing, improvisational brilliance, and boundless energy allowed him to captivate audiences in ways his brothers could not. Curly lacked formal acting training, yet his instincts and commitment to absurdity created a uniquely magnetic stage presence. Before joining the Three Stooges, he honed his craft in local theater and odd jobs, perfecting physical comedy and slapstick. These formative experiences laid the foundation for what would become a legendary career. Behind the manic persona, however, lay a sensitive, vulnerable man whose personal struggles and inner turmoil would quietly shape his life, foreshadowing the hardships he would face during and after his rise to fame. Early career and rise to fame. Curly officially joined the Three Stooges in 1932, stepping in for his brother Shemp, who left to pursue solo ventures. At the time, Curly sported a full head of wavy auburn hair and a mustache. However, following the suggestion of Moe and producer Ted Healy, he shaved his head, a transformation that would become iconic. His unique comedic style, marked by high-pitched vocalizations, exaggerated expressions, and whimsical physicality, quickly endeared him to audiences. Curly's routines involved pratfalls, wild gestures, and an almost surreal elasticity of movement. Between 1934 and 1946, he starred in nearly 100 short films at Columbia Pictures, with titles like Punch Drunks, 1934, Disorder in the Court, 1936, and A Plumbing We Will Go, 1940, cementing his place in comedy history. Though often the centerpiece of the trio, Curly's genius went beyond slapstick. His childlike energy, unpredictability, and vulnerability added depth to the Stooges' work, turning physical comedy into an art form that balanced chaos with heart. Personal life and early struggles. Despite his on-screen success, Curly's personal life was turbulent. His first marriage, which occurred before he gained fame, lasted only 5 months. The failure of this relationship left him emotionally scarred and established a pattern of seeking validation in short-lived romances. In 1937, he married Elaine Sackler on a date that coincided with his older brother Moe's wedding anniversary, a detail that reflected his closeness with family. The couple welcomed a daughter, Marilyn, in 1938. While this marriage initially offered stability, it eventually dissolved in 1940 due to personal differences, Curly's demanding career, and his increasingly erratic lifestyle. These personal upheavals coincided with the beginning of a marked decline in his health, setting the stage for the physical and emotional challenges that would define his later years. Beneath the laughter and exuberance, Curly's vulnerability and emotional struggles were already apparent to those closest to him. Health decline and pressures of fame. Curly Howard's health began deteriorating in the early 1940s. Weight fluctuations, hypertension, and fatigue increasingly affected his ability to perform. Despite these challenges, Columbia Pictures and the demands of touring during World War II pushed him to maintain grueling schedules. Performances for troops, both at home and abroad, were physically exhausting, involving multiple daily shows and demanding routines. Curly, the most energetic of the Stooges, bore the brunt of physical comedy, often performing pratfalls and exaggerated movements that taxed his weakening body. The strain of live performances and travel exacerbated his existing health issues, but the culture of the era left little room for rest. The pressures of fame, compounded by personal losses and a relentless work environment, intensified his physical and emotional decline. While audiences saw an exuberant entertainer, the man behind the antics was increasingly burdened by fatigue, high blood pressure, and the toll of relentless performance expectations. The hidden struggle. Mental health. Curly's energetic, on-screen persona masked a deeply insecure and emotionally vulnerable man. He struggled with depression, loneliness, and a profound sense of inadequacy, which were often misinterpreted as eccentricity or the pressures of performance. Recent insights suggest he may have suffered from undiagnosed bipolar disorder or another neuropsychiatric condition, worsened by alcohol use, which he employed as a coping mechanism. During his lifetime, mental health issues were stigmatized and poorly understood, leaving Curly without proper support. Erratic behavior, sudden mood swings, and occasional disappearances from the set were seen as quirks rather than warning signs. These revelations cast a new light on his decline, showing that his personal struggles were not simply the byproduct of fame, but part of a serious, ongoing battle with mental and emotional health. Curly's story underscores the complexity of performers' lives, revealing that the laughter they generate often conceals profound suffering, career highlights, and iconic performances. Despite his private struggles, Curly's contributions to the Three Stooges remain legendary. His physical comedy, vocal expressions, and unpredictable antics elevated Shorts into timeless examples of comic artistry. Films like Punch Drunks, Disorder in the Court, and A Plumbing We Will Go showcased his ability to combine precise timing with chaotic energy. Audiences were drawn to his childlike innocence and boundless creativity, which allowed him to steal scenes and become the centerpiece of the trio's performances. Curly's improvisational skills were unmatched, and his willingness to commit entirely to absurd characters inspired generations of comedians. His genius lay not only in his humor, but in his vulnerability. He allowed himself to appear foolish, ridiculous, and human, inviting viewers to laugh while also empathizing. Through this combination of skill, instinct, and emotional resonance, Curly Howard redefined the art of slapstick. The stroke that changed everything. In 1946, at the age of 42, Curly suffered a massive stroke while filming Half-Wit's Holiday, abruptly ending his full-time career. Though many fans assumed it was a one-time health incident, evidence now suggests he had experienced multiple transient ischemic attacks over several years, warning signs ignored by both the studio and himself. Columbia Pictures, prioritizing the Stooges' success, offered little medical support and encouraged him to continue performing as long as physically possible. Studio memos reveal a disturbing willingness to exploit his talent despite obvious danger, highlighting the neglect performers often faced. Mo Howard advocated for his brother's well-being behind the scenes, but even his influence was limited against a system driven by profit. The stroke marked the beginning of a rapid decline that would see Curly become frail, confused, and physically incapacitated, tragically contrasting the vibrant energy audiences remembered on screen. The final years after his stroke, Curly lived a diminished life, moving between care facilities and brief visits with family. His attempts at returning to performance, such as a cameo in Hold That Lion, 1947, were brief and highlighted the stark contrast between his former brilliance and his frailty. Further strokes left him increasingly incapacitated, and by the time of his death in January 1952, at age 48, the world had largely moved on from the man who once brought it so much joy. Behind the scenes, family archives and medical records reveal a man who gave everything to entertain others while struggling privately with serious health and mental challenges. Curly's story is one of devotion to craft, immense personal sacrifice, and the tragic consequences of an industry ill-equipped to care for its performers. His decline reminds us of the human cost behind the laughter, legacy, and reflection. Curly Howard's life challenges the myth of the perpetually happy clown. Though adored by millions, he suffered in silence from health issues, emotional instability, and the pressures of fame. His story highlights the neglect, performers faced in the studio system, where profit often eclipsed well-being. Yet, Curly's legacy endures through his extraordinary body of work and the lasting impact of his comedic genius. He brought innocence, chaos, and vulnerability to the screen, showing audiences a side of humanity that transcends laughter. Modern reassessments of his life reveal the hidden costs of stardom and the importance of mental and physical health support. Curly's brilliance remains, but it is inseparable from the understanding of the pain he endured. Remembering him fully requires acknowledging both the joy he gave and the hardships he faced, ensuring that the man behind the laughter is not forgotten. Conclusion. Remembering Curly Howard. Curly Howard, born Jerome Lester Horwitz, was more than a slapstick genius. His career brought immense joy to audiences, yet it came at a personal cost few could comprehend. Health struggles, mental illness, and a demanding industry shaped the trajectory of his life, often unseen by fans. Recent insights into his private life reveal a man grappling with vulnerability, loneliness, and physical decline, yet always committed to entertaining others. His story is a cautionary tale about the pressures of fame, the consequences of neglect, and the hidden realities behind public personas. By understanding the complexities of his life, we can honor Curly not just as a comic legend, but as a human being who gave everything for laughter. The mystery of his decline is no longer a mystery. It is a sobering reminder of the depth behind the smiles he inspired, ensuring his life is remembered with honesty, compassion, and admiration.